Is that true?
Hi, everybody. For
Hello.
those of you I haven't met, I'm Mary Ellen Brett. I'm the Associate Dean for Corporate Education at Massasoit Community College, and I spend my time working with my students who are employers in the region. So public, private, and we focus mainly, basically exclusively on incumbent workers. So people who already are working at the company and want to, the company wants to upskill or reskill those folks. And so we help organizations from every single sector and occupation, from manufacturing to healthcare to financial services. So that's just a little bit about my background, because I see so many new faces and I'm happy about that. Dottie, thank you for steering this meeting.
Sure.
And I think we can just go ahead and do the roll call.
Do you want me to read the accessibility statement first and then I can read the roll call for you?
If you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So this is a public meeting and it will be recorded, and the recording will be available on OCPC's website. I've enabled closed captioning for those with hearing impairments. Our statement of accessibility and non-discrimination, Old Colony Planning Council, including the CEDS committee, assures that no person shall be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or otherwise be discriminated against under any of its programs and activities. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities and those with limited English proficiency. Accessibility accommodations and language services will be provided free of charge upon request as available. Our full policies are available at www.ocpcrpa.org. Actually, that's our old website. It is oldcolonyplanning.org now. Any person who feels their protections have been violated may file a written complaint within 180 days to Mary Waldron at mwaldron@ocpcrpa.org or Old Colony Planning Council, 70 School Street, Brockton, Mass. 02301.
Thank you.
And for the roll call, John Murray is not here. Mary Ellen Brett. Here.
Here.
Chris Cooney is not here. Cindy Pendergraft is not. Deborah Roberts, no. Jack Riley, no. Jason Hunter, no. Jay Patekos, no. Kyle Haas, no. Laura Buckley.
Here. Yes.
Lee Filson, no. Mary Ellen DeFrayis.
Here.
Michael Lambert or Joe Mack. Nope. Hold on one second. Let me just, all right, just want to make sure nobody else was there. Pam McCarthy is no. Rob May, nope. Rob Ruley.
Here.
Yeah. Stephanie Danielson, no. Stephen Cole, he is here, but he is in the attendees and he just raised his hand. Trisha White is a no, and Val Massard is a no. All right, terrific. So now going right over to the first item is the draft of the minutes from February 18th, Mary Ellen.
Yeah, I can, I just want to make a note that I believe that we do not have a quorum, so we can't actually formally accept the minutes, if I am correct. So I suggest that we table that.
All right. All right, and update on committee membership. At the last meeting, we were talking about making nominations for co-chairs. Mary Ellen has agreed to throw her name in the ring again, and then we had a couple of other people interested. John Murray is stepping down from that role, so we didn't have enough people. The people that had expressed interest were not on the last meeting, so we decided to table that to this meeting, and I think we're going to have to table it again to the next meeting as well. So Mary Ellen, you're going to have to hold it together for us until the next meeting.
No worries, but I'm excited to bring on a co-chair. Come on in, folks. The water's warm. It's okay.
The next item is the update on our CEDS co-hosted webinar. So the next webinar is scheduled for August 15th at noon, and we have that tagged as best practices for applying for federal funding. And we're going to be working on that and getting that teed up. So the last webinar that we did that was using arts, culture, and tourism to drive economic development was very well attended. We got some really great feedback. A lot of people sent emails on that. And the participants, Kiko Oral for the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, Michael Bobbitt from the Mass Cultural Council, and Lee Filson from Sea Plymouth, really were all very excited and sent great feedback as well, that they were happy to be there. So we're hoping.
Dottie, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to ask if that webinar and the materials are available on the OCPC website for folks who couldn't make it.
They are, and everybody that registered, I sent them an email with a follow-up with a link directly to the video and to the materials.
Awesome, thank you.
So that is it. So the next is the project updates for economic development data tools is still underway. We've picked the data sets. We're just looking at the format and learning some of the technology for Tableau to get that going. The other part, the economic development self-assessment tool, we've mined the questions for that, and we're in the process of reviewing that to get some updates. The first year of that grant will end in August, so there's still another year plus to get those both of those going and completed. We're hoping to complete it before the August 15th deadline of next year. And then the next item is the EDA regional water study. Don?
Yeah, so currently we're waiting for an official award letter. Hopefully we'll get that this month, maybe at any time. So that's a $940,000 project. It's a regional project, 50-50. So we applied for 470, and there was a series of funding matches from Plymouth County Water District, the state earmark money, and there was some money supplied by the South Shore Economic Development Council. Total depth 470, so 470 was at 940. So again, we're waiting for that award sometime in the next couple of weeks, or even today it could come. We have the East Bridgewater Sewer Project. That's a $9.6 million project. There's several sources of fundings there. The town got a $4 million Mass Works grant. We're applying for a $3 million EDA grant, and the town's got a allocation of roughly 2.6 million, 9.6 million project. Steve's going to talk more about that after I speak. Some of the impact numbers there is roughly $90 million in private investment, and they've got roughly 500,000 square feet of development space that's going to occur relative to the sewer line coming in, and roughly 700 jobs will be created initially once the line goes in. There are also several other projects in the early stage, preliminary stage development for planning and construction projects throughout the district. There's several opportunities that are beginning to emerge in Brockton, as well as some of the other smaller towns. We're looking for some construction projects too. So stay tuned for that. There's more money coming into the district through EDA funds. That's all I have, Tony.
That's fantastic, Don. Especially some of those really big ticket items. I think you mentioned 9.6 million for one of them.
Right, that's the sewer line, just the construction for the sewer line in East Bridgewater. That's a construction number, 9.6 million.
So I'm curious about the source of the funding. Has this been enhanced by the federal legislation that was passed on infrastructure?
The town applied for a Mass Works grant. They got $4 million. And we're applying on behalf of the town for $3 million out of EDA. That's 7. And then the town has an allocation that they're going to be putting forth 2.6 million. So it's a combination of various funding sources.
Right.
That application is going in for the EDA funds. That'll be going in, this week or sometime next week.
Great.
We'll wait to that. That'll be about 30 to 40 days or so. We can get a turnaround on that, find out where we are. But, we're looking forward to getting them some additional money to construct the line.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys are cooking with gas over there. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
So Dawn, do you want to introduce the guest speakers leading
Yeah,
into
the
the
next
East
speaker is
Bridgewater?
Steve Patterson. He's with Weston and Sampson. He's the project lead and senior associate. He's working the project in East Bridgewater, and he's going to give us an overview of, what that project consists of. Steve, go ahead.
Great, excellent. Thanks, Don. So yes, as Don said, I'm Steve Peterson with Weston and Sampson Engineers. I assume everyone can hear me okay? My speaker's working, all right? And we also have Fran Yanuskewicz from Weston and Sampson on the line. And then at the town hall, I see that Charlie Seelig and Peter Spagone. So Charlie, the town administrator, and Peter
Nice.
Spagone, the chairman of the board, are here. And Peter and Charlie, did you want to say anything before? So I'll share my screen and do a PowerPoint. I didn't know if you guys wanted to say anything first, or do you want me to do the presentation first?
Go ahead, Steve. Yeah, Steve, go ahead. You can take it.
Okay. All right. So I'm more of a Teams guy, so make sure I click all these buttons right. So I'm going to share my screen. Share. And then I'm going to do. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
All right,
Yes.
excellent. All right, so give you a background and overview on the sewer project. I'll give you some of the big picture details. So as far as the stuff we're going to cover here, and I'll move fairly quickly and we can talk as we go or leave it for questions at the end, however people want to handle it. We've kind of already done the introductions. I'll give you a quick project background and overview, discuss the scope, some of the permitting requirements, challenges. There's definitely some environmental areas out here. Talk about the schedule and where we're at with the budgeted costs and how that plays into the grants. And then any questions at the end. And just in this figure, just from a big pictures perspective, you can see where the project is. It's basically the northwest corner of East Bridgewater near the Whitman town line. And then the city of Brockton, part of the project actually goes into Brockton because that's where the sewer connection goes. So part of the project extends into there. So as in terms of project background, first and foremost, the biggest thing was kind of identifying, defining, and then establishing what is now the North Bedford Street Sewer District, again, in that northwest portion of East Bridgewater. It's really the town's, it's along Route 18 and Highland Street here are the big crossroads in the area. It's the town's main commercial corridor. And it's really limited in what they can do out there. There's a lot of undeveloped and underdeveloped properties. And the biggest limiting factor is wastewater. There's just, the soils are bad and the on-site systems are very limited to what they can do. And they're kind of maxed out on the development in that area. And it's an opportunity if we can solve that issue and provide, a sewer option. It's an opportunity for jobs. And Don mentioned, I think he said like upwards of 700 jobs just in some of the projects that we're looking and that are currently looking to go forward and will be able to go forward with the sewer. And then there's also a housing component. There's some, high density housing proposals out here. Also on this figure here, some of the key properties, we'll talk a little bit more about them, but if we go from south to north down at the bottom. So the red area here is the boundaries of what is defined as the North Bedford Sewer District, North Bedford Street Sewer District. There's only so much wastewater that the town has secured with the city of Brockton. So they had to, they definitely had to define who was part of the district and which properties we were really targeting that were going to benefit the most, both the properties as well as the town of East Bridgewater and really the region, what this is doing for the region. So some of the key properties starting from the south, all this purple is owned by Equity Industrial Properties. And again, that's where Hard Hanks, Compass Medical are at the intersection of Highland Street and North Bedford Street. And they've got a lot more land out there that isn't developed yet. They've got pretty much as they can get into the ground. And we'll talk a little bit more about that property on future slides. And then as you move across north of Highland Street into the heart of the district, this brown area, we'll talk more about this. This is right now owned by Greystar. It's changed hands several times since we started the project, but they've actually broken ground on a 400,000 square foot warehouse that is providing for a lot of jobs. There's some town land in the middle of the district that right now is landlocked. Part of the discussions and negotiations with some of these property owners and developers in here is that the town is looking to obtain an access out to North Bedford Street so that they have frontage for these properties for future consideration of being able to do something with that land. The combination of having an access out to North Bedford Street and a sewer will provide some opportunity for those properties. And then the large green property at the top is currently a project that's going through a local initiative program and proposing housing, some high density housing that the town also needs. So as part of all of this, we couldn't really do anything until we had the sewer capacity. East Bridgewater worked with the city of Brockton for quite some time on negotiations, discussions of what the IMA would entail, how much volume the town was looking for, and they executed that IMA. And with the IMA in hand and the district, well, the IMA in hand, this past May, the town went to town meeting, or last May, I'm sorry, we're not in May yet. So last May, went to town meeting, got both approval to form the sewer district, and they authorized the spending for the construction of the sewer project. So the town is supporting and moving forward with the project. So just quickly, again, I was just going to touch a little bit on the bigger properties that I already mentioned. So I talked about Equity Industrial Properties. Since we've been involved with this project, they've been talking about several different things that they're looking to do, none of which they can do without the sewer. They've been in talks with a company that was going to bring a medical inpatient facility in there. They're talking about a future outpatient facility, other improvements to Compass Medical and Hard Hanks itself. So just a lot of opportunities for jobs if they can remove that wastewater limit that they have right now, that they just can't get the wastewater into the ground. So, big proponent of the project, obviously, or supporter. Another key property, as we move across Highland Street, this is that 400,000 square foot warehouse that, they have broken ground out there. They're doing some of the site work out there. Obviously a sizable facility. It's going to provide, again, a lot of jobs and opportunity. There's also development going on the adjacent property that will be able to do more at the old Speedway Park. And then I mentioned the vacant town land. So it's just something, that the town down the road will be able to look at options for that property. I mentioned the multifamily housing. So it's ultimately, 80 townhouse units is the current proposal on one side of the property, and then 160 rental apartments with 320 bedrooms. They're going through the local initiative program process, looking at 25% affordable and occupancy preference provisions, just some things that the town is supporting it, through this LIP process, and something that people are excited to have in this area. So that's kind of a background on why we're doing it and what it's going to provide. So what are we doing? The boring stuff. We're putting pipe under the ground is all we're doing. So our project scope, ultimately, it's about 17,600 feet of sewer trench. We got 7,600 feet of gravity sewer, so we're gonna have a gravity line, 8-inch gravity sewer that runs from Winter Street down to a pump station, and then another 4,200 feet of 12-inch gravity sewer coming from Highland Street to the pump station. And I've got a graphic on the next one that'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So a couple pieces of gravity to be able to pick up the properties in the district. And then we got about 14,200 feet of dedicated force main to the existing interceptor sewer in the city of Brockton, which is going to travel, 10,000 feet of that is in the roadways of Winter Street, Summer Street, Thatcher Street, and Thatcher Street in East Bridgewater, and then crossing into Brockton. And then there's some cross-country force main parallel to the 8-inch gravity sewer. And then there's one pump station that's basically down near the it's in the corner of the property near the Whitman town line. So for all those numbers, here's kind of the graphic that goes with it. So the pump station proposed location is here on that this large parcel that's building all the housing units near the Whitman town line, near Route 18. The project doesn't enter onto Route 18. We're keeping the pipe and disruption out of the road. So we've got a 12-inch gravity that starts at Highland Street. So by having the sewer reach out to Highland Street, it provides access for the equity properties to get into the sewer. And then we cross several properties here, including the Gray Star property, the Speedway Amusements, the town property, and then the JSC development property up here. And then we have an 8-inch gravity sewer coming down from Winter Street. So both of those sewers come down to the pump station, and then the force main runs parallel to the 8-inch gravity out to Winter. And like I said, Winter to Summer to Thatcher and out. And this up here on the far left is the existing Brockton interceptor. In the IMA discussions, this was the location that Brockton identified. It's the closest in Brockton, and it is the place with the available infrastructure to handle the flows from East Bridgewater. So that's kind of an overview of the sewer system that's proposed and hopefully being built soon. We're right in the throes of the permitting process. We're going through MIPA. We had submitted an expanded ENF. Actually, this morning, we got the secretary's certificate on the ENF. We knew we would need an environmental impact report because of both the environmental justice areas associated with Brockton, as well as the IMA, the fact that we're crossing municipal boundaries. So we now have, with the secretary's certificate, we have a scope for our EIR, and we'll get started on that process. We've gone through the Local Conservation Commission, East Bridgewater. They've voted, they've closed the hearing and voted to issue an order of conditions. So that's pending now. We've submitted an Army Corps, on the federal side, we've submitted an Army Corps permit for a pre-construction notification. Again, the one thing that's driving the Army Corps permit, as I said, there are some environmental areas. So we are altering more than 5,000 square feet of bordering or isolated vegetated wetlands. Basically, we're impacting by, we have to put the pipe underground. So we're going to go through those areas, install the pipe, and then restore it back to its original conditions. So we're looking for a general permit for environmental compliance through the Army Corps. And we also are applying for the same criteria we're applying through the state DEP through the 401 water quality certification program. And that application is ready to go in. And we've already reached out to the Mass Historical Commission and got their approval or negative determination that there would be no impacts to historical resource areas. So that's kind of some of the permitting challenges and where we're at with those. This is kind of why we're going through it. So the project itself qualifies as a limited project because it's, again, a construction of underground public utilities. we've included alternatives analysis. All the impacts are temporary. Any wetlands disturbance is being restored. We're not doing any replication or no net loss of wetlands, just temporary disruption. So we'll be reestablishing all the pre-construction conditions. And then just using, all the typical environmental protection mitigating measures, and those are all defined through the many permits that we're going through. They're clearly defined what we need to do in order to get the permits, get the authorizations to do the work in these areas. Just some pictures. So this is some of the roadway work. This is East Bridgewater, and then this is Thatcher Street in Brockton, where the force main is going to go. And then just to be clear, so again, the force main itself to get to Brockton extends beyond the sewer district. There are no connections to the force main. It's a dedicated force main just to transport the wastewater from the pump station to the city of Brockton. So this project is not providing service to any of the homes along Winter Street, Summer Street, Thatcher Street. That's just conduit to get the wastewater where it needs to go under pressure. Some of the wetlands areas that we're going through in that cross-country area closer to Winter Street. And then on the Highland Street side, it's a little more open, upland areas, but still cross-country areas. So in terms of schedule and budget, we are working to wrap up the design and permitting over the course of the summer here. So they'll be ready for advertisement and public bidding in the fall with an intent to start construction this year. We'd like to have a contractor on board and break ground before the end of 2023, as long as we can secure all the remaining permits over the course of the summer. We're well into that process. And once we get started, it's about a year of construction for the pump station and pipeline. So we expect to be done December 2024. There'll probably then be some final paving in the spring after a winter freeze thaw. We'll come back and do the final paving in the spring of 2025. Don had mentioned some numbers, the stuff that he's looking at is the construction contingency, the police details. It came to, I think, Don, you said like 9.6 million. The total authorization is 11 million, as the town has other costs associated with the project in terms of administration, land, legal, oversight of the construction and stuff like that. So it's a total about $11 million project. And Don alluded to, the grant opportunities that we've looked at. The MassWorks One Stop for Growth. Town is very excited and appreciative of the $4 million grant that was awarded through that program. And as Don said, we're excited of the prospects of the EDA that Don is working on and the pending application. That's it. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. Peter or Charlie, I don't know if you want to add anything, or we'll just open it up at this point.
Well, I could start. So you can imagine how long and grueling of a project this was for the town of Bridgewater. Working with the city of Brockton for going on, I don't know, probably four and a half years now to get that idea. We look at Brockton now as a partner, in not only in this project, but obviously in future development as far as jobs go and housing. I just want to say a big thanks to first Mayor Carpenter's administration, who we started with, and of course now Mayor Sullivan's administration, who we now worked with, and OCPC, Mary Walden and her staff, as well as Don. It's been a great team effort. I'd be here for an hour and a half, 2 hours, naming all the parties and people that have been involved in this project. But it's one that East Bridgewater is super excited about, having just septic systems in town. We do have one area down on the other end of Route 18, Bedford Street, that we have a plant for our new high school. Well, not new any longer, about 6 or 7 years old now. that we extended across the street, and we had a very good response to that from some of our partners across there. So that's kind of what sparked this bigger opportunity. And like I said, people always ask, if I knew then what I know now, would I have started this? It's a flip of a coin, no doubt, going through all the parties. But I just knew the end reward for the town and for the surrounding towns would be hugely beneficial, and that's why we continue to push and get things done. So it's really all I have to bring into the conversation. And again, I appreciate all the parties that have been involved from state to local level for sure. You got something, Charlie?
Other than, the project obviously covers two areas where the state has really been emphasizing housing, where we've got the 240 planned units, and then jobs across this corridor. With the potential, obviously, for being able to do more, but we gotta get it built, gotta get the hookups in, and then lastly, continuing to work with the city of Brockton on enlarging, not necessarily the district, but the number of gallons we're going to be able to contribute to their flows, and therefore being able to build more densely along this corridor. It's going to mean obviously, not just for the region, jobs and housing, but obviously our tax base is going to grow. We're going to be able to provide more services and activities for our residents here. So it's been a win for everybody.
I'd just like to add in that I've been working also with East Bridgewater about housing opportunities through the MBTA communities. And they have such a great team of people involved in all of these projects, very insightful about making that connection with housing and economic development. And something that they brought up that was really a wonderful question is, once these things start to take effect, because they are considered an MBTA community, an adjacent community, they don't have a commuter rail. They have limited bus service from BAT, but this whole model of development there could really bring a need to work with BAT to bring more public transportation to that area for jobs, get people to work. It really complements each other from a real strategic planning perspective. And I'm really excited to see what this looks like in a couple of years. I think this could be a real legacy project for this team, and a lot to be proud of. You've got really wonderful people working on it.
Does the group have any questions about the project? Between Steve, Don, myself, and Peter, I think we can cover any other information that wasn't presented that you're interested in.
I just want a point of clarification for folks. Is this a public-private partnership?
Well, we are working with the property owners along the corridor, because obviously they're going to benefit from this. We're working on connection or development agreements with them. There's nothing signed, sealed, and delivered, but we've kept them informed throughout the process and continue working with them on getting development and connection fees. But the district and the financing isn't necessarily dependent on those.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add, just to clarify, that's so essentially what happens is the public sector leverages the private investment in the jobs and the benefits, but it's not like a joint venture between the town and the private sector. So it's more leveraging the investment to create the opportunities that the public sewer line is going to bring.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, just as a layperson, this looks like a monster project, but with wide-reaching impact, positive impacts. multiple towns or municipalities affected, and really moves that area into a whole new realm for potential economic development. And so it seems like it's a win-win all ways around. And I just a shout out to you, Pete, Steve rather, and everybody who helped make this happen, because anytime a project of this magnitude is on the table, it takes a lot of partners and also a lot of goodwill, you know, and endurance and persistence to bring it even to this stage. So huge kudos to all of you, and we, the community at large, appreciate what this is gonna do. And really, when you think about it, you know, 2.5 years, you know, is right around the corner. So people will be able to see, you know, in person pretty quickly the impact that this will have and the change that it will make. So like I said, big shout out to all of the players who are involved in making this happen. Thank you. Any other questions about the project? Comments? It's good stuff, really good stuff. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And
That was
thank you for
super
your time.
helpful.
Yeah.
Presentation.
Yeah, it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And I say that as a layperson who doesn't normally look at water sewerage maps.
That's why I didn't show I didn't show any sewer pipes. I tried to go with stuff that was a little bit interesting. People like maps and color.
You did a good job.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
All
right.
I think if that's all, Dottie, we can move on to the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Sure. The next agenda item is member updates.
Right, so this should be relatively quick because we have a smaller group today. We've just put this out open to all of you who are participating. And what's going on? What's going on in your areas, your region, your organization? Anybody got any updates they want to share? Okay, I'll go first. If you want nothing but pure, unabashed fun tomorrow, Massasoit has something called Barn Babies that they're doing on the quad from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And they have baby goats, baby bunnies, they have puppies, they have piglets, they have all sorts of baby animals, and people can just come in and play. And I can't imagine that would be anything but joyful if you have the time. So I extend that. And it will probably be hilarious too. But so I put that out there if you just need to step out of life for a little bit and you know, lose yourself. So there's that. And I also will share that Massasoit is having a celebration on May 13th, which is a Saturday evening, 6 p.m. It's a mini sort of celebration gala, if you will. And a couple of folks that are being recognized are Peter Foreman, who we know, who's come and visited this group before. He's the president and CEO of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce. They are big into economic development and are working and have been working on a 2030 plan around infrastructure, workforce development, transportation, et cetera. So he will be being recognized, as well as our own Chris Cooney from the Metro South Chamber, who's kind of a bit of a legend, if you will. And his events are always fun. So I'm assuming anything associated with him is probably going to be a good time too. It's an evening of champions. That's the theme of it. And if you just go to the Massasoit website and just click on that, it'll take you to all the information. They're selling tickets. Tickets are $125. They're also accepting sponsorships for organizations who want to, you know, advertise via page or whatever. So it should just be a fun evening and nice to recognize, you know, folks that we know and work with on a regular basis. Because they're
Sounds
always
like a lot of
recognized.
fun.
Yeah, and they're always recognizing so many other people. So it should be fun. Any other updates? Laura, what's going on with you at the?
Yeah, thank you, Mary Ellen. I've been
Yeah.
to a Barn Babies before at a birthday party. That's a lot of fun.
I
for
know,
all
right?
ages. The best part is that some of those animals wear diapers, which is
Yes,
hilarious.
I read that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things happening over here in workforce development, not just specific to the South Shore, but region-wide. And I would be remiss if I didn't start by thanking Mary Ellen and her team at GATRA for the newest addition to the Mass Hire South Shore team. We are now the proud owners of a mobile service vehicle for workforce development. This vehicle provides on-location services, career center services throughout the South Shore. It's still in hair and makeup, getting done at South Shore Tech. But we're very excited to see what the future holds. And Mary Ellen, thank you very much for your generous contribution. One of our first stops will have to be GATRA. Do some workforce development there, but we're really thrilled to see what the future looks like. And this is an idea that is not new. Brockton is already doing this. And we're sort of basing our mold from theirs. Ours will be a little bit different, but we're offering services now at the municipal level. Perhaps many of you have seen libraries transition not just from books to the library of things, where they have things available, and that's sort of what we're doing with this. It'll have more than just resume writing, so stay tuned. I can't wait to announce when the ribbon cutting will be. The next thing is we are closely, I don't want to be doom and gloom today, but we are closely watching the cost of living issues here on the South Shore, not necessarily specific to workforce development, but the trickle effect and sort of the matrix around that. We are in a bit of a pickle. And if you live on the South Shore, feel free to just zone out for the next few minutes because this will not be news to you. But we have had a cost just of housing increase since the pandemic began that has outpaced wage increase, has outpaced cost of housing in other parts of the Commonwealth. I do have a really interesting report if anybody's interested in taking a peek from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, because we're matching the cost of living with housing and the changes that we're seeing in age brackets, because that directly impacts our workforce here. The studies, when overlapped with each other, tell us kind of a scary story here that we need to figure out with our partners at the state and nonprofit level. We can't fix this alone, but we do have some work cut out for us ahead. So we're losing a band of our workforce that can't boomerang back to the communities which they came from. In fact, we have at least 3 communities now on the South Shore. We're getting in there even on dual income with advanced educational attainment, meaning a master's degree or above, 2 on average salaries combined can't get a house. But what used to be called the starter home, but we consider it in the lowest 25% of housing costs for that. And that's Cohasset, Milton, Hingham. So we want to do what we can. And when I go to these regional meetings and I talk about these issues, I know that at times they can seem like champagne problems, but they're not, because the implications of this impact every single person in every single bandwidth and really in every single industry throughout the South Shore. So more to come on that. And in fact, I'd love, Mary Ellen, if there's time, maybe next year, we could do a deep dive, even a summit on this, and work it from every angle. All these terrific resources here. Next, I wanted to talk briefly about some success we've had that should be shared around the world, but the Baker-Plato administration had started a program or enhanced a somewhat existing program called Career Technical Initiative. It is here to stay. It won't be taken away. And we are now running one of the premier models of that program here on the South Shore, where we use data analytics to determine fastest growing workforce development trainable programs here in this region that are in-demand occupations that allow for people to get a brief overview, sometimes 50 hours, sometimes 150 hours of training. That training is hands-on. It's typically in the afternoon or evening, and it sets people up for an introduction into that particular field. Usually an industry certification is included. this particular academic year, we're offering a menu of manufacturing, which is based on CNC machinery. We're doing carpentry, horticulture, culinary. We have automotive, and there's one that escapes me. Oh, welding. And those programs, we are running beyond capacity now. 2 years ago, we couldn't fill those seats because of COVID. And now people are coming out of the woodwork. They want the training, they want the placement in the workforce, and they want to leave knowing that these are employable skills that they have. So give me a call or shoot me an email if you want to learn more about that. We hope to continue the success that we've had with these outcomes next year as well. And am I over talking?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Just get the stage hook if I go on for too long, please. And I also wanted to let you all know that we have some opportunity with a new software package that we're using. I am new to this and I need ideas on how I can play with it and figure out some really good pieces of data that can extract. So if you have some questions about the long-term economic impact of public investments, and it does not necessarily have to be for workforce development, it can be really anything that's economic development related, please let me know because I need real life examples I can use as I'm getting trained up. I have a couple weeks that I blocked off in the month of June to do this type of work, but it's economic impact analysis and it's really exciting if you're into this. But I do need more examples. I've started doing it at the municipal level here in the South Shore. If they were to invest X, Y, and Z, what does that mean for their tax dollars and their local ripple effect? But I want to do it larger. So please let me know. My email address is right here. And I would be glad to take on any extra work. It's a great teaching tool. Thank you.
Awesome. Lots of great stuff going on, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's a good idea, Dottie, if we just sort of put it on the table for, some kind of, future session on, the cost of living and related issues and the economic impact that that's having on this region. I remember from my time at the WIB that, we knew this 10 years ago that, we had an aging population. It outpaced the percentage, that was the average statewide. And so, with the additional information that Laura imparted around housing and so forth, that does not bode well, for this area. And so I think there are a lot of organizations doing some really important work around this. Laura, you mentioned the Federal Reserve report. And of course, I mentioned the 2030 out of the chamber. So maybe we can put our heads together and think about a way to, limit the scope because it's such a big problem. It's so many pieces to it. But I think it would be maybe even an overview. And then as a takeaway, people can go and follow whatever area is their expertise to try and make an impact in this area. At least people should know about it. So, excellent.
Laura,
Thank you.
can you send me the link to that report and also the link to the certificate programs that you were mentioning?
Yeah,
So
sure.
I can put it in the follow-up notes.
Should I put that right in the chat box so everybody can see the report? See what you think?
Sure.
Sure.
I'll take the same information, not only the report, but the certification programs. That'd be great. We want to be able to share that. Are there any other member updates? Okay. And we have other business, Dottie?
So the couple of things that I have here, so the EPA community-wide assessment, we should be hearing about that. That was a grant application that OCPC submitted. We're hoping to get that result anytime now, and that's to look at remediating some brownfields, or at least the first steps of getting the site assessment. So we'll give you, hopefully have great news to tell you at our next meeting. And then the MBTA communities that everyone knows, 16 of our 17 communities are considered MBTA communities. I'm working with 6 of the communities to help them do the compliance modeling. And it's been really, really interesting. East Bridgewater is not on the call anymore, but they've been really wonderful to deal with. And I was very pleasantly surprised because a lot of times there's resistance in some of the smaller communities, particularly the more suburban they are. And they have some really great people with a lot of vision for how to meet the compliance goals, but use it in a way that's not just checking off the boxes, but really tying it into where they want to see the growth in their community. And also they know that they're doing, you know, the sewer projects and how to really leverage and take best advantage of everything. So I'm really excited about that. One other public or personal comment, this will be my last CEDS meeting. I am going to be moving to a position with Mass Development June 13th. So Mary Ellen I will be filling her old role, and
So we just
we
sort of
all just move around.
Yay.
So I'll probably be reaching out to you for some advice and tips, Mary Ellen. But I've really loved working with everybody here on the CEDS committee, and I will still be involved just in a different role. So you'll still see me, but just not with the OCPC name tag anymore. So
Congratulations, Dottie.
Congratulations.
thank you.
That is fantastic. When is that, Dottie?
So my first day is going to be June 13th. My last day at OCPC will be June 2nd. So they were very gracious to give me a very long runway to be able to complete some of these projects, because I really just didn't want to leave. I've got, 6 communities with June 30th deadlines. And I've got some other projects that I'm working on. And then I'll just work with Dawn to wrap up a transition plan for the rest of the work. And they'll be obviously looking to refill the role. So always a work in progress.
Always.
Never stops.
It never stops. But in light of that, I want to give a shout out to Dottie for being such a great member of OCPC, of CEDS, and this team. For me, we could not do it without her. We will find a way because we'll have to. But I can say as chair, but I can let you all know as board members that she's just outstanding and spectacular to work with. And we're so excited for you for your next adventure, Dottie. And I'm glad I'll just be seeing you on another square with just a different title going forward. So you're not going too far. But most certainly, I want to thank you for all of your efforts and work supporting what we do. Outstanding.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the next is public comment. It doesn't look like we have anyone from the public here. And the next meeting is July 18th at noon. And everybody should have a calendar invite for that. And then the only final thing is a motion to adjourn, unless you have anything else, Mary Ellen.
No, I don't. And I think we are literally almost on the nose, 12:58. So without further ado, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And is there a second? There's a second. That was a second, right, Dawn?
No, I can't do it. You get.
No, that's right. That's right. You'll have to do it, Laura.
Oh, I didn't know it was what I remember, but I second.
A second. Okay. Then we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody. Great meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
I know.
Bye.
Take care.
Yep. See ya. Thank you.
Bye.